Hi, welcome to Oakville Matters. Our city calls itself a town and acts like a village if we meet each other halfway. And we work together to grow our harmony, prosperity, and safety for everybody. And today, we're going to answer the question, what's going on at 16 Mile Creek, where for years now, we've had the big sports complex with the quad arenas and a library. But now we're embarking on a new adventure where it's going to be the biggest community center in Oakville. And it's only a few short years away. And I'm joined today by the architect and our energy manager. We have Frank LeConte, who's our landscape architect with the town of Oakville, and Nathaniel Magner, who's the energy solutions manager with the town. And we're going to talk about what you're going to see there. Frank, Nathaniel, thank you for joining us today. Frank, give us a big overview of the 16 Mile Sports Complex and everything we're going to do there.
Yeah, thank you for having us. 16 Mile Sports Complex was formerly North Park. So it's a 24-hectare piece of town-owned land on Neagel Boulevard, just north of Dundas, for your viewers. As you mentioned, it's the home of 16 Mile Quad Pad Arena, and the property is currently under construction for our new multi-use community center, library, and community park. It's yet another significant achievement for the town. It will greatly benefit Oakville residents and further become a recreational and cultural hub for Oakville residents.
Right. And Nathaniel, when we built the quad arena, I was really proud of some of the energy saving features that we built into it. My favorite was using the waste heat from the compressors to warm the seats. What can we look forward to in energy management and conservation?
Yeah, excuse me. The new facility will have a whole bunch of new technologies. I mean, the lighting will all be LED. I've been told there's a very innovative technology around the pool heating. But really the geothermal is going to be the biggest thing. There's going to be a geothermal system, which is going to serve both the new facility, and then also we'll be able to tap into it for the existing part of the facility. And that's going to be huge sustainability impact for the whole site.
And is geothermal a brand new thing for the town, or have we done it before?
We've done it at a few sites, actually. The most notable is Oakville Trafalgar. So yeah, this site got a lot of press when it first opened a few years ago, and it's all on geothermal as well. It also has a solar array on top of the site and the parking garage, which is providing renewable electricity to offset the electricity used on site.
So that's Oakville Trafalgar. Nathaniel's referring to the relatively new community center on Reynolds Street in the oldest part of town. And if you like, you could say that part of town waited the longest for a community center. And when we get this community center done, we will now have one in all 7 parts of town, including the brand newest part of town. So I'm very excited about that. Frank, landscape architecture kind of shapes the aesthetics and the experience of the site. What are you aiming to achieve there?
Well, on the park side, first and foremost, we're developing the park with an inclusive lens. So, for example, at the children's play areas, we provided a variety of physical and sensory features that really allow social interaction between children and encourage cooperative play. And because it's a destination park, we looked at it as an opportunity to create a special place that's distinct, it has its own character, and that it's engaging for the public. So as a community park, it should provide those exceptional opportunities for both recreation and sport.
So we've had a number of requests over the years for ways for kids to safely I don't know. I don't know if what the current way of referring. It was in my neighborhood, kids going out in the woods and creating ramps on the trails to ride their bikes, their relatively small bikes, and do flips and all kinds of scary things. And a lot of parents were asking us to create such a course in a more supervised way. And so apparently we call this a bike pump track.
You are absolutely correct. Like, it is definitely a trending amenity. And so we were able to capture kind of that need within 16 Mile Sports Park. It's actually working in tandem with the skateboard park. So there's a major skateboard facility. And then right next door to it is the pump track, which is a formalized track. It's asphalt pavement. It has an undulating surface, and it accommodates a variety of age groups, a variety of devices like scooters and bikes and skateboarders and rollerbladers. It'll be a fantastic addition to the town of Oakville.
Right. And, as a hockey dad, I was used to the fact that in order to play games, we have to play all over town, and because the hockey club needs all of the arenas in order to stage the games, because there's so many kids playing. So I'm totally comfortable and used to with the idea that you drive to a place for a feature. Or put another way, I don't think we can have an arena on every street ever. But so this sounds like a great destination. But I understand that you've got more going on here. Basketball courts. There's over the years, council has built special request basketball courts. What are we doing here?
So you're absolutely right. There's a lot going on at 16 Mile Sports Park. So currently we are focused on finishing up the sports fields. So there's a cricket field, a couple soccer fields, and then moving into next year, we'll be working on the skateboard park, the pump track, the splash pad, the playground. That's all being completed in the fall of 2024. And then, as you'd mentioned, we're looking ahead. So pending council budget approval for the 2024 capital budget, we'll be moving to the next chapter, which is phase 3, which includes volleyball courts, pickleball courts, tennis courts, and basketball. So that's kind of the third phase of construction.
Well, given the craze for pickleball and the constant communications I get from the public about wanting more pickleball, that part of the capital budget will have popular support. I imagine council will like it too. Yep. Nathaniel, the sustainability of what we do has become a very big watchword with everyone on council. And what are the sustainability features of the things that Frank and I have been talking about?
Right. Well, I can, speak mostly to the geothermal system, I think, which will be under the site. But yeah, geothermal is a great technology. It can be 3 to 4 times as efficient as gas heating and 2 to 3 times as efficient as air conditioning. So, especially by converting the heating systems to electricity instead of natural gas. In Ontario, we have a very clean electrical grid, so the greenhouse gas emissions go way, way down. So yeah, we're expecting a huge impact to the overall town's greenhouse gas emissions through this technology. It should be around 7% reduction of all the town's buildings just by interconnecting these.
So reduce the use down to 7% of what's normal, or take 7% off the top?
Take 7% off the top, but that's the whole portfolio of buildings, not just this one site. So it's a big chunk.
So in terms that we often hear, we'll be reducing our I hope, our footprint.
Exactly.
Yeah, on that note, I wanted to continue with the sustainability of the park and the community center development. So even throughout the whole site, we're creating these infiltration swales and rain gardens. They all allow rainwater to infiltrate back into the soil and subsoil, as opposed to being directed to the municipal infrastructure. So there's lots of great things that we're doing on site that are sustainable. Also, instead of taking up valuable parkland, we've incorporated below ground stormwater management chambers. So this helps with attenuating peak flows during major rain events. So in fact, there's one of these large chambers underneath the dog park. So it's you won't even know it's there, but it's actually functioning as a stormwater management facility.
So this sounds like a mix of hard infrastructure and what's the current phrase? Green infrastructure.
Absolutely. It's with new technologies comes better opportunities to mix, as you had mentioned, both green and hard technologies.
And does the new field house also get geothermal, Nathaniel?
I can answer that because I am involved in the field house project.
Mm-hmm.
The building is so small that the cost would be difficult to accommodate in the budget. So no, geothermal is specifically for the community center just because of the grand scale of the project.
I see. And, you know, when we talk about a field house, how big a deal are we talking about? Is it bigger than a bread box, or is it similar to, you know, there's a structure now in Bronny Heritage Waterfront Park, for example, that has the washrooms. Is it, what size, what do we mean when we say field house?
Yeah, so the field house is 4,300 square feet, and it has 4 large change rooms, 2 barrier-free washrooms. There's men's and women's multi-purpose or multi-use stalls, as well as mechanical rooms for the splash pad and irrigation systems. So it's a substantial building. Like, we're trying to create an aesthetic with the field house, so it's going to have nice architectural character, if you will.
Okay, and 4,300. That's a large house, I guess, basically.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. Yeah,
like a larger house. I mean, the average house is probably 2,000 square feet, so it's 2 houses maybe.
Yeah,
but it's one level, I assume.
It's 1 story. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Frank, what's the story on parking? What kind of parking are we going to be able to have here?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, that was one of the challenges working on the development of the site, is making sure that there's a good balance between maintaining parkland, but also providing that functionality of spaces. So we did complete a study for parking. We know what we needed. The good thing is we have allocated that parking away from Neagawa Boulevard. So there's going to be, I think, over 1,200 spaces kind of tucked in areas where they don't need to be accessed. So for example, along Neagawa Boulevard, we have a beautiful frontage of rain gardens and patios and parkland. So that's kind of the front facing, public view. And then in the back are the parking lots, which we've managed just to squeeze in. So there's going to be plenty of parking. I think we have about 300 spaces in the park. And then there's a shared portion of parking in between the park and the community center. And then there's lots of new parking going in the southwest corner of the site.
Yeah, I know that it feels like a couple of decades now that planners generally for all over town have been preferring what I'll call an active street front or a pretty street front, but rather than having parking be your first impression of a place, you go behind for the parking. And of course, the newer it is, the more likely that's true, and the older it is, the less likely that's true. But evolution does happen over time, I'm sure. Nathaniel, have the I get the sense that the town's efforts around geothermal and sustainability have started to rub off on builders and maybe even some residents in terms of uh, builders, for example, using geothermal for their subdivisions and or their towers, and residents going a little greener. Have you anything on that?
I mean, I think we can definitely assume that people look at the town for leadership in this area, and we're, you know, uh, doing activities around educating folks as they, you know, see what we're doing. Definitely, we're working on it more and more now to you know, create signage that'll help educate people about kind of the hidden systems of what we're doing. You know, geothermal, for example, it makes a huge impact on carbon emissions, but it's all buried under the parking lot that Frank was just talking about. So you don't actually see it. So yeah, we're going to create signage that, you know, helps explain how it works and the impact that it has.
So is it tricky to be uh, shifting to geothermal? Is it brand new and full of challenges, or is it a well-established technology that we're re-embracing? What's the story on geothermal?
Yeah, it's fairly well established at this point. I mean, it's um, people make it seem like a complicated technology, but I like to say that it's not. It's really just an air conditioner that instead of the, you know, condenser unit you have out back of your house, that box, instead of having that, it's underground. So if you dug a hole in your backyard, throw the condenser unit in there, then there you go, you have geothermal. But don't actually want to do that because that won't work. But you have a different system where it's a system of pipes that would go under the ground and distribute the air or distribute the heat into the ground instead of your condenser unit just blows it into the air.
So really the technology is no different than an air conditioner or I guess a refrigerator for that matter, because they're basically what, heat exchangers then.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the refrigeration cycle that was invented at the beginning of the, you know, 21st or 20th century. And yeah, the big difference that we're seeing now is that heat pumps are becoming more popular. So a heat pump is basically the same as your air conditioner, except it goes both ways. So it can reverse the cycle, and instead of making your house cold, it pulls heat from outside and makes your house hot. So it does heating and cooling. And the geothermal part of it, really what that does is just uses the ground temperature, which is very stable, consistent throughout the year. The air's, you know, air's changing temperature all the time, but ground's nice and cozy. So the efficiency is just much higher when you have the ground loop from the geothermal.
Yeah, I love my heat pump. I find that it works really well for us. We did it in combination of I guess what you could call whole home tightening. You know, we insulated to the max.
That's
and
great.
and we got our doors and windows, you know, we basically renewed those so that we had really good air sealing. We're
That's
cozy.
something we're looking at as well for our new buildings, is to really focus on envelope and get that insulation levels up, because it means that your mechanical systems, the heating and cooling, could be smaller and less expensive and
Yeah.
use less electricity over time.
And it's a good feeling to know that you're reducing your footprint. Honest, it really is. And you know, I started on that path before I became mayor, so I want you to know I'm genuine about that. Um, have there been any challenge implementing geothermal here, or will there be? I mean, what's your sense of like aren't there issues about? I've heard that geothermal, you either lay the pipes horizontally or you drill down. Which way are we going to go, and what are your thoughts on that?
We're going down here. We're going quite far down. It's 650 feet deep,
Wow.
and there's about over 200 holes that we're digging, boreholes. So yeah, it'll take up a good portion of the parking lot. But yeah, you really need that distribution of piping to make sure that you can project the heat properly in the peak times of the season.
Is there a significant temperature change between the surface and 600 odd feet down?
I think what I've heard is once you get below 10 feet, 6 to 10 feet, then it's pretty much consistent at that point.
And what would be the differential between the surface and underground?
That's a good
Is
question. I
it
think
2
it's
degrees or, how much differential do you need in order to be able to have a system is I guess what my ignorant question is. I'm not an engineer, I'm not a
Sure.
scientist.
Yeah,
So
I think
answer gently with me.
well, I'll do my best too. I'm not actually an engineer either, but I'm trying my best. So I think that what they say, it's about 16 degrees once you get below that 10 feet, and that's stable throughout the year. So um yeah, the differential between the inside of the building and that 16 degrees, um it'll change throughout the year how much heat is pulling out and pushing in, but the system can work with all sorts of temperatures. That's why your heat pump in your house, it can work down to minus 20 degrees, because the way they design these now, you can really work in all sorts of temperatures.
And Frank, what has been your biggest challenge in designing in the landscape architecture design of this place?
I think, as I was mentioning, we did have some challenges at the beginning of the project regarding parking configuration. So how do you squeeze in that many spaces in a property, but also maintain green space? So definitely a significant balance. But again, what we came up with was having those pedestrian corridors and connections right at the front of the property, making them, very pedestrian oriented. So I think that was the biggest challenge. It took us a while to adjust the parking. We actually had some parking near Neagawa, and that's where the basketball courts are now, much closer to Neagawa, kind of out in the open, being part of the community.
And you mentioned, I think 24 hectares. Was that the number you said, 24 hectares?
This parcel is 24 hectares, yeah.
Right, and I think that means we haven't used up all of North Park, because North Park was, I'm not that great at translating between acres and hectares, but I believe North Park was 100 hectares or something like that.
Yeah, you're correct. So North Park is divided into two physical properties: North Park North, which is future development, and that's about 50 hectares, and then this parcel is 60-mile sports complex, is about 24 hectares. So again, future development, more sports fields, more exciting opportunities to develop in the long term.
And that part of North Park, that's closer to the new high school that the public board is building, right?
So the North Park North parcel is running along the new Halton William Parkway.
Yeah.
So as you cross the new bridge over 16 Mile Creek, Halton William Parkway starts running north-south, and it's on the west side of Halton William Parkway.
Right, and up above there near Burnhamthorpe, I think, is where the school board might be. Somewhere to the north of North Park is the high school. Yeah. But in any case, the lesson here is we've got room to grow, like twice as much, in fact.
Absolutely.
So
that's very exciting.
Not a bad place to be. And we have I think we have a future large community park yet to go up near Trafalgar and Burnhamthorpe, if I remember correctly.
I believe that, I want to say Joshua Creek Community Park. And yeah, that's future development as well in Northville.
So it sounds like more work ahead for you.
Yeah, for the whole parks planning team, lots of work ahead for sure. Very exciting.
All right. So if you didn't really have, well, if your biggest challenge was parking, what was the easiest part?
I'll be happy when I'm out there with my children, playing on the fields and enjoying the skateboard park. I mean, this has been a very excellent project to work on, but definitely takes a lot of communication, a lot of teamwork. So yeah, I mean, no part of it has been easy. It's been a challenging project, but very rewarding.
Well, I know that we did a lot of consultation, and we heard from everybody about everybody's special request. And I can't actually think of one we've left out. Can you think of any we had to say no to?
So the biggest one, and it's really a big ticket item, is a refrigerated outdoor rink. That did come up a couple times, and the town is always looking for opportunities to improve our, database of rinks. I know that we're building one at Wallace Park, which is slated for 2024, 2025. So that's an ongoing project. And then in the future, with our Parks, Recreation, and Libraries Master Plan, we're investigating opportunities for future rinks elsewhere in town.
So the Trafalgar Park initial outdoor refrigerated rink is not a one-off.
No, not at all. They're popping up a little bit more frequently now. Yeah.
Well, it's not a bad thing. I mean, I remember, must be the last time we were able to do it was, God, it was in the 90s. We used to play shinny under the bridge on 16 Mile Creek. It's been a long time since we had enough ice to do that. Also, the part of Bronny Creek where the marsh is, it's really, there's very little water there. So but we used to play shinny there too in the old days when we had cold winters. So I guess outdoor refrigerated rinks are what we're going to have to do until or unless we can get the colder winters. Guys, thank you very much for the time you gave us today and all the good information about what we can look forward to. It is great working with you, and thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time on Oakville Matters.